So I think it's cool that they're introducing new artists that nobody's ever heard of. I think that's we need companies to do stuff like that. They love art, and they love that they have all these talented artists working at their company, and they realize it doesn't all have to be superheroes and Star Wars.
Every date I've been on ends with me crying in a limo.
Sounds right.
I just love how the three of you have all watched Bachelor more than me.
Some metal ruling.
Yeah, you don't bend a metal ruler.
It goes back.
Gary, can I get a heads up that you don't bend a metal ruler?
Unless you're 6 or 4. My kids do it all the time. Well, let's add our guest. Let's see if he's available.
Who's our guest?
You'll see. It's anticipation.
Is it somebody I like?
Hey, Tyler.
Yeah, sorry. I went to try to answer, and my Bluetooth headset had unpaired.
I miss your voice.
I miss your voice, too. It's a ham night.
It's a ham sandwich night.
It's a double ham?
Yep.
Oh, my God. I think Gary and I will both be the first to say if we had $1 for every time someone made a ham sandwich joke, I assume especially with him having a brother.
My house would be paid off.
And technically, it's a George sandwich with 2 pieces of ham.
Exactly. Everyone always gets that wrong. The ham is in the middle, not on the outside. That's where the bread is.
Exactly. That's why it's not actually a ham sandwich. It's a
That's
reverse.
right.
Which one is standing next to me?
It could be like a couple of open face ham sandwiches.
There you go.
I still want to know which ham is on my side.
I love you, Jess. I don't know where we got off. Well, I know. It's a little trash fisher. I know we got off on the wrong foot. But once you accept that I'm an idiot, then all's good. But I absolutely adore and love you, Jess.
Okay, good. I'll take you back. Gary's on my side.
Wow.
Gary's my ham. Dibs on Gary.
I can't believe we're on a talking basis again. We've made up. This is awesome.
And I'm feeling oddly rejected.
Well, we're recording right now, so let's just go ahead and start this show. So, hey, toy family, welcome to the Marsham Toy Hour. This is where we talk anything and everything designer toys. I'm Gary Ham.
I'm George Gaspar.
Jess.
Oh, I got kicked out.
You know you didn't.
You shushed me out of your seat.
Oh, no.
I'm Jessica Gaspar, rejected.
And joining us after over a 2-year hiatus is one of the original co-hosts of the show, Tyler Ham. Welcome back, Tyler.
Hi, everybody. Happy to be back. And God, has it been 2 years?
Last episode you were on was November 2016.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I think it was episode 25. I remember it was kind of like a substantial number. And now you're on
36. 36.
Was it 36?
And now we're on, this will be 130th episode. So almost 100 episodes between the last time you were on.
Oh, my goodness. That's way too long.
You've had another kid since then?
Well, yeah, and 16 months old now.
16
so
months?
I guess that sort of explains my absence.
No, it absolutely explains it. Say no more, but I knew when there was a bun in the oven, our time was to be, limited, but I can't believe that much time has passed. And one of the things that stuck with me when you were on, Tyler, is you mentioned that you lived in a haunted house. We had a Halloween episode where you were telling some stories about it. Do you still live in that house?
I still do. I absolutely still do.
You are crazy. I remember a story you told me about one night you guys heard over the baby monitor the ghost was shushing your baby to sleep, soothing her to sleep, and you heard that over the monitor. So I'm curious, is the ghost a good nanny to your second daughter? Is it helping put her to sleep as well? Oh,
God, I wish it did. Any hand in keeping this kid asleep would be greatly appreciated from living or dead at this point. It's an open invitation. How in The Conjuring, they're like, you've made contact.
Yeah.
It's yes, come in. Come in and help, please.
I just kind of teased the story a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot of listeners right now that are not familiar with this story. I remember it had something, you were actually away from the house, and your wife was the one in the house and heard it all going on over the monitor. So can you just tell the story real quickly for the listeners who aren't aware of that one?
That was probably the creepier of all the different things we had happen here. What happened was when I went down to the hardware store that's right down our street, and she called me and she goes, well, where are you? I thought you went to the hardware store. And I told her, well, I'm here. And she just goes, you need to get home right now. Just panicked. Oh. And so I ran out of the hardware store, drove up the hill, and she's in the living room holding the baby. I was like, what happened? And that's what she told me. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. our older Blake, she had woken up and was sort of like just you know how kids do, kind of stir and kind of give like little half cries. And over the monitor, she started hearing that shh 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 shh, which any parent listening kind of knows is kind of a generic sound you make when you try to shush a baby to sleep.
Yep.
It was really creepy. Whenever I tell the ghost stories, that's always the one that kind of people go like, that's the creepy one.
Yeah, that's the one that stood out the most to me. And really, it's the only one I remember. But this is not a ghost storytelling podcast. Unless, does your ghost play with or collect toys, Tyler?
No.
Well, in that case, let's move on to talking about, do you miss podcasting? Do you miss talking about toys?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I was so excited when we talked about coming back on this because I haven't even really, I used to sort of hop on to other friends' podcasts and just do little one-offs, but I really miss it. I really loved just getting to, of course, chat with you. And I chat with George sort of offline. I've known George for, I guess, quite a while now. I mean, at least probably 5 years. Jess, I'm just kind of meeting through the podcast. And it was a great excuse to just get together with friends and get to talk toys and things we loved. And I really do miss that.
Yep. Well, let me introduce you to your replacement, Teresa. She's on the line.
Hey, Tyler.
Yay,
Hi, Teresa.
Hey,
Nice
sorry
to
I'm a
meet you.
few minutes late. Nice to meet you too.
I'm glad you guys are finally able to meet because you guys are both like a large part of like how the show exists. Like I've said it many times, Teresa, without you and your help, I don't know that the show's still going on. And Tyler, without you, I don't know that the show ever started because you were the one that originally, those not familiar, some history, I guess, is there was 3 hosts of this podcast. It was myself, Tyler Ham, and Aaron Holsizer of Marsham Toys, and we were to be a part of the Blind Box Network, but it didn't end up working out. So Tyler was the one who decided, let's still do this. He did the research. He figured out how to do a podcast, how to upload it, and all that sort of stuff. So he set up the accounts and all that stuff. I just worried about editing, making the promo images. I would send the edited episode to Tyler. He would upload it, do the show description, and then it would go live. So you're a huge part of why it was. But Tyler, you and I, we used to talk tons back when you were on. Like every day we were constantly texting back and forth.
Yeah, daily.
But then once you let the podcast, we kind of lost touch a little bit. I think we talk we don't even talk. This is the first time we talked since you've left. But we text maybe once every 6 months just to check in.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is. It's definitely not. It's not like a personal thing, but as you mentioned, it just sort of kind of happened where the podcast sort of my extent with it kind of came to a point where my wife was about halfway through her pregnancy.
Yep.
I was going through a bunch of just random job issues, so that was taking a lot of my focus. I was either working too much or working not at all. And then with already having at that point was a 4-year-old, that's always a handful. It just sort of, I mean, like I said, like if you'd have said when was the last time you were on the show, I would have thought like a year. I mean, the fact that it's 2 years, but yeah, I mean, I have a 16-month-old baby now who, again, like I said, doesn't like sleep. And so it's hard. It's hard to, I mean, I have a hard time maintaining friendships with people that I tend to see that are geographically closer than you and I. And so the whole last 2 years has sort of been a mad scramble to just sort of maintain an average level of sanity.
Do you still talk to Aaron at all?
I haven't talked to Aaron since our last podcast together, honestly.
That's not surprising. I never sensed that you guys really liked each other.
I don't think we didn't like each other. I just don't think that we had. I mean, like when we started the podcast together, I had no history with Aaron, and I had somewhat of a history with you. I mean, not deeply, but we'd met at several. I mean, when your last name is Ham, like you find friends wherever you can. Like you need allies. And I'd known you at conventions. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think George introduced us because of our last name.
Probably. I think I remember that story.
Yeah, I think it was at a Comic-Con back when at least you and George were still actually setting up there, and I was just sort of a looky-loo at that point. But yeah, and so I kind of had no beginning with Aaron, and our only real interaction with each other was on the show. You know, like I said, like you and I had a much deeper relationship, and you and I really haven't talked that much. And so I think Aaron just kind of went his way and I went my way. And it's taken 2 years to get back to center here.
Yeah, it was always weird because you guys never talked to each other outside of the record. So we would only all talk once the record button would happen. That's when you guys would talk. And then after that, the rest of the week, I kind of felt in between you two. You guys would each be sending me texts, but we never talked like as a group thread or anything like that. So it was always strange. I think that you guys, I think what it was is just I formed different bonds with you guys, and then you guys never seemed to really form that bond outside of record.
Yeah, I mean, I have no ill will towards him at all. I mean, it was never like that, and I'm happy to see that everything he's doing is going well. He's got some good stuff in production. I'm happy his storefront's going well. Yeah, but it was always like, you're right. I mean, even to communicate with Aaron, I was almost always talking through you. And so you kind of said, you know, like I was if you give me credit for getting the show going, you're kind of the one that kept it glued together for all those first couple months there.
And the one that still keeps it glued together.
I know, and may very well be. And like you said, I don't think you gave yourself enough credit for editing. Editing is one of those jobs that, oh man, I remember talking to you about it, and you're like, yeah, it's gonna be 3 more hours before I can get this episode out.
Oh my God, this is! I remember now. You would, because you were the one that were uploading the episode. So most weeks you were waiting on my edit, and you were staying up way later than you wanted to, waiting on my edit. And you'd be sending emails like, "You almost done? How much longer?" And I felt rushed to get the edit out to you. So yeah, it's gotten a little easier since you've left in that regard, because now I do the edit and I upload on my own time frame. But do you listen to the podcast at all anymore?
Not every single episode, but I do listen quite often. I have a job, kind of what I spend my days doing right now. It gives me a lot of time to sort of listen to I listen to a lot of podcasts right now. So I've been able to keep up with quite a few of them. And there's actually something in the last episode that I wanted to talk to George about, and I cannot remember what it was now. And I guarantee you that it's going to come to me. Oh, when you were talking about driving from SoCal to the NorCal show and then back in one day.
Oh, yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, I had to do that for work years ago. It was right after 9/11, and some film canisters had to go from Berkeley to the film studio down in Southern California, but I had to be back to help close the studio that night.
Oh,
so yeah, so we couldn't get on a plane with them because it was sealed in a metal canister, and you couldn't open it because it would expose the film. And so I've done that drive, and I just remember hearing you talk about it. I just remember being so tired I was hallucinating on the drive back.
Yeah, no, that's about right. That's awesome. And can I talk about one thing from that last episode? I just want to officially apologize to Drill and Lee about that point where I had put everybody on mute while I answered the phone real quick.
That was our best moment, though.
That was amazing to listen to.
I apologize to them. I should not have done that, but it happened, and I feel like an ass, but it happened.
You can apologize to them, but everyone else is thanking you because that was incredible.
That was the best. The best. The fact that happened during your mute was amazing. Teresa, do you know what we're talking about? Did you ever listen to that episode?
You can't call me out like that, Gary. I'm going to look bad because I don't listen to episodes I'm not on.
So self-centered. Jeez. No, I don't think you've ever listened to the show before you actually came on. I don't think you listen to podcasts. You don't have a long commute to work. You don't have the kind of job where you can just throw on headphones and listen to music and podcasts all day like a lot of us do.
It's so hard to find the time. That's why I haven't even really been on. Well, I wasn't on the last episode. It's weird that we're doing them every other week right now.
Speaking of which, Teresa, you haven't been on. You weren't on the last episode. I think there was another 2-week hiatus. So I haven't talked to you in probably a month. Like usually we chat or text, but you've kind of gone ghost. Haven't really talked to you in the last month or so. What's been going on?
It's life.
Just life and work.
Stuff and work. It's been crazy. So
have you been able to stay on top of all the social media toy news, or are you going to be?
Oh no, I feel like I'm George right now. No offense, George. I was like, oh God, what has been going on? I don't even know. I mean, I've seen snippets here and there that I catch, but not at all have been like I normally am, where I'm like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's that? No, it's like I'm in the dark.
To be fair, you probably still know more than me. It's okay.
Probably. But Tyler, what about you? Since you left the show, have you been keeping in touch with Designer Toys and all the goings on? Because I know when you're doing the show, it's like something that you need to stay on top of to be just knowledgeable and aware of what's going on. But I know the few times I've gone on vacation or even the weeks that we take off, I'm not paying half the amount of attention that I normally do. So how about you? Are you still like engaged and in touch with what's going on in the Designer Toy world?
Not, I'm still interested in it, but I haven't been paying obviously as close of attention as I was during the podcasting. I've been sort of focusing part of my efforts on a startup founding that's also in the toy and kind of entertainment space, and so more of my attention's been to, how would you say it, the back end of a toy company and toy production and company development and all the things that go into a startup, like selecting a law firm and getting incorporated, all these other things that are just sort of, and then it's like, looking at toy projections for the next couple of years. What did the toy industry do? How did Toys R Us's closure affect toys? So my focus on the toy industry has been more sort of self-serving in the sense that I'm trying to build something sort of in that space. But I sort of took a step away from designer toys, and I think I actually texted you a couple months ago when I kind of looked back into it. And at first, it kind of felt like, and I've looked more into it since, but I kept wanting to see more innovation. Like I had gone away and I came back and I was just like, I've been gone for a year, and it's like it's the same people are still the ones who are always at the forefront. It's like you go down, you open up the website for whichever site you go to, and it's like the same names I recognized. And I kind of was like, God, what happened? I was hoping there'd be more like just new blood in it. But then you pointed me over to some other sites, and I was looking through them, and so I've kind of seen now there has been some things that have changed and that are really cool going on. But as far as like general interest in designer toys, it's been, like I said again, more of my focus has been behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense. So if I told you that the Designer Toy Awards are coming up this June, you wouldn't really have a great idea of who to nominate, who's probably potentially going to end up being the finalists and that sort of stuff. And I guess we should probably point out, this is the final week to get your nominations in for the Designer Toy Awards. On this Friday, February 28th, that's when they close the window for nomination period. So if you have any artists, toys, companies that you would like to get in front of this panel that then narrows the nominees down to the small list of finalists, this is the final week. So make sure you do that. You can do that by going to designertoyawards.com. If you don't have an account, you're going to have to create an account, and then you just submit people that you like to nominate. But it's a very easy process, and make sure you do that because, as we've learned, if you don't make the nominations, it's not going to get in front of their eyes. And there's plenty of toys that people are going to assume that either other people have already nominated or they completely forgot that it came out last year because it probably came out maybe the beginning of the year or something. So make sure you do nominate. Go to designertoyawards.com. It's all anonymous. Nominate me yourself if you want to. And then, Tyler, I assume you're not nominating them, huh?
I'll definitely vote because I love seeing the DTAs, but I don't know what I would particularly nominate just because I've been so out of it. I've kind of, and my focus was always more in the resin scene anyway. Yeah. Like that was always kind of where my interest went. And so I still have artists I follow there. I still see some new artists coming in. I have new artists whose work I really get excited by. But really, like the DTAs isn't as much about that. I mean, they have their sort of resin bootleg category. Overall, that was always still like, even during the show, I was always more attracted to the resin scene.
Now, when you say resin scene, you do mean specifically the resin bootleg side?
Yeah, the self-produced bootleg toy side.
And I know you're still involved with that side of the scene because it was just a few months ago I saw you did the collaboration with your buddy Killer Bootlegs. You're starting to do the Hammer Horror collection. I know you're really into horror, and you guys did the Werewolf together. And it seemed like you're probably going to continue that line with all the monsters in the Hammer Horror series.
Yeah, we did that. So Killer and I have been friends for a real long time. And in fact, he was one of our early guests. I think he was I mean, probably episode 6 or 7. I mean, really early, like under episode 10, I think. And he and I have collaborated a bunch of times over the years because we sort of have similar interests in things. And so, like, one of our collaborations was doing a Kenny Powers because we both liked Eastbound and Down. And we were texting when the show ended, and we were both sad the show was over, and Pete was like, "Hey, let's do a toy of this." And I was just, "Yeah, let's do it." And so we both have this love of Hammer horror films, and we just realized first we realized why aren't there Hammer toys in this scale? And we kind of came up with a mental list, if you're going to have a line of toys for Hammer, what order? It was basically line planning. And both of us really liked the Curse of the Werewolf design. And so we just decided to go for it and do that first. And I think it turned out really well. All credit to Pete for the amount of paint apps on that thing. It's a really, really heavily and well painted piece.
It looked fantastic from the pictures I saw. You and Killer work really well together. You did the sculpting and he did the casting and the paints and everything else. And yeah, it's a really nice collaboration. And speaking of collaborations, and while we're talking about the bootleg toy scene, something happened this week. I wasn't even sure I was going to bring it up. It was very public. It kind of got a little ugly. It happened over social media for the most part, but there was a bootleg collaboration done, and it was done by a married couple, actually, which is very cool, a bootlegging married couple. Dollar Slice Bootlegs and his wife, Horsey Boo. Is that right, Horsey Boo?
Yeah, I think that was right. I think it's like at Horsey Boo or something like that, or Horsey B or something.
Yeah, I believe it's Horsey Bill, and it would be so much easier if people use their real names instead of these pseudonyms, but maybe her real name is Horsey Bill, and in that fact, I apologize, Horsey, but to better describe it for the listeners, what they did is they created a bootleg of a character that was very popular in the 80s. It came from a brand called Town & Country Skate and Surf Designs, or TNC Surf Designs. It was out of maybe like Oahu, Hawaii. It made that brand very popular in Pearl City out there, but it also became very popular here in the States and in many other places because what Steve Nazar, the artist, had created was just a great lineup of characters that appealed to a lot of the surfers and skaters at the time. And I remember walking into a Miller's Outpost and discovering this apparel line for the first time and absolutely fell in love with it and begged my dad to buy all of the apparel. And I remember wearing one red Du Bois shirt, like almost religiously back in middle school. Anyways, what Dollar Slice Bootlegs and Horsey Boo decided to do is make a tribute to the Thriller Gorilla from the Du Bois lineup of characters that Steve Nazar had created. And it's really, really good. It's exceptional looking. I mean, as far as bootlegs go, they don't usually appeal to me, but this one totally grabs me, probably because it's sentimental, but also because it looks fantastic. It's very true to the character, great sculpting, great paint app. But here's the problem, is they decided, they started sharing images on social media, and I guess it caught the eye of Steve Nazar and the crew and whoever holds the IP for this brand, and they seemingly weren't that into it. They, I guess, gave Bootlegs and his wife a cease and desist, kind of like stop production, don't make any more. And I believe they did. That's as how it should be. An IP holder gives you a cease and desist, you should stop. But it went way more than that on Instagram and social media. It just got into harassment and mudslinging back and forth, and just, I don't know, it got pretty ugly in a very public way. And I was curious, have you guys seen any of it? Have you been paying attention? And Tyler, as a resin guy, what are your thoughts on this?
So I was kind of late to the party on this, and I sort of did a deep dive in it just earlier today because Dollar Slice had kind of put up a couple posts explaining his side of it. And then I looked over at Steve Nazar just to try to see what he had said, but whatever post that was being referenced by John Dollar Slice is not there anymore. But I was able to sort of read through because I keep wanting to call him just John. Dollar Slice had screen captured a bunch of their back and forths, and I kind of wanted to go into it with like a fresh perspective because I do know John personally. I don't know Steve Nazar, but I also, as anyone who listened to the earlier episodes, I've worked in IP and IP protection and licensing, and so I have a fairly decent understanding. I'm not a lawyer, but I have a decent understanding of what's protected, how is it protected, that sort of stuff. And I kind of wanted to look at it with fresh eyes because I did think the figure was really good. I mean, it looks like it
was excellent. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, if you had put it up on a shelf with a bunch of Playmates figures, it kind of has that like Playmates, Dick Tracy, Toxic Avengers, like late 90s style, but it's very, very faithful. I don't know. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, when the rights holder says you have to not do something, you kind of have to stop. Yeah. But when I was looking through, I mean, and I know Dollar Slice and Nazar have a friendly relationship. Nazar was at Dollar Slice's table at Designer Con years ago. John hosted him there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Nazar had designed card backs for Dollar Slice in the past. They had I don't know how good their friendship was, but they obviously were friendly enough to send texts back and forth. You can see the texts where John's showing Nazar the sculpt in progress, and Nazar saying things like, I'm misquoting it, but like, yeah, like rad, like can't wait to see it. And my whole issue with it is, dude, if you had an issue with it, say it when it's being sculpted. Don't say it when the release of 10 is already available for sale. Like, that's not the time to have an issue, you know? And it felt kind of like it was almost a bait and switch. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm totally for this until I'm against it.
Right.
I don't know. My theory is maybe a lawyer or a friend of his or someone else associated with TNC kind of got a bug in his ear. Because, yes, allowing people to make unlicensed copies, especially one that's faithful, it's ironic that the more faithful it is, the more potential damage it can do to your brand. But yeah, and so that is an issue. And someone might have gotten in his ear and been like, hey, if you know, this guy's doing this, and we don't have to get into the can of worms that this can open up, but it sounded like Nazar got real reactionary instead of trying to think of sort of a way that would have benefited both of them. Instead, it's kind of like everyone loses in this scenario, and it's a shame because it's a rad figure and it should be released.
Yeah.
But I mean, it should be, but
you know more about it than I do.
Can't.
There was a lot of information to go back and forth between accounts, and I pretty much only read what Dollar Slice was sharing. And yeah, I mean, like you said, for seemingly, in which this is something I didn't know. I did not know that it seemingly had approval, and they went ahead with the sculpting and making it. And I believe Horsey Boo, I think I read she spent like 6 weeks sculpting and working on this project, and then they were going to release it, and then that's when they were told not to do it. And I imagine in the bootleg world, this is just something you're used to, though. I mean, you just got to get used to the potential for whatever IP you're basing your bootleg off of is probably going to give you a C&D. And if that happens, you have no choice but to back down, right?
I mean, you know, it really isn't. There's always the threat of it, but generally companies just ignore it. I mean, I've never gotten a C&D, but I got a harshly worded letter from the representative of Alfred Hitchcock's estate with Killer Bootlegs, when Killer Bootlegs and I did the Alfred Hitchcock figure. I know Killer got a letter from HBO for Kenny Powers. And so it happens, but for the amount of IP theft that goes on, it really doesn't. Like Lucasfilm, who's probably the one who is the most infringed, never sends out C&Ds for this. And so, sometimes they come from weird places. Like Falcon Toys did that Pop-Tart Han Solo and Carbonite, and he got a C&D, but it was from, I believe, Kellogg's. It wasn't from Lucasfilm.
Yeah, I feel a lot of times it's the smaller the company or the smaller the property, the more likely you're going to get it. So like something coming from TNC Surf Design is definitely more likely to happen because they have way more to lose if someone starts taking their stuff than someone who's bootlegging Star Wars. You know, you're not going to hurt Star Wars' brand.
Exactly.
Like the same thing happened with Ben. He did that years ago. He did that retro outlaw Evel Knievel Boba Fett, and Lucasfilm, no one said anything, but they got a letter from Evel Knievel, from the Evel Knievel estate. You know, because they want to get paid. No one's paying Evel Knievel right now, so they want to get paid. Lucasfilm's making plenty of money. They don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
So the smaller the company that isn't getting paid for their stuff at the time, the more likely you're going to get something saying, "Pay us."
So let me ask you this: they, like you said, they spent the hours, the time that takes to make these pieces. You said was there 10 total?
Yeah, it was a release of 10.
Okay, so what did they do? I mean, can they at least give them to friends, or maybe you can't sell them? But is there anything that can be done, or do you just have to just break them and throw them away? Or what happens to those ones when you get a C&D situation like this? Do you just closet them? Do you have to smash them? What happens?
Well, I mean, there's a big difference between what you're supposed to do and what you actually do. What you're supposed to do, I don't even really know in this case. I know. So, like, one example of a heavily protected IP is actually the Academy Award statue. And the Academy will come after you, and they will demand that you cut the replica into pieces and mail it to them.
Wow.
To prove that it's been destroyed. But with 10 of these gorillas out there, no one can monitor your direct messages, so who knows? But as far as, what you're supposed to do, but that's kind of the name of the game in this. And I think that's sort of what everyone who decides to cast a part of a beloved IP risks. And it very rarely comes to things like this, and especially in such a aggressive manner. I mean, it did seem like, again, I couldn't read Nazar's replies because they'd been taken down. But from what I read from the screen captures, it sounded like it got ugly fast.
Yeah, I certainly didn't see everything, but what I did read, it wasn't pretty. And I wish they had come to some sort of collaboration agreement on things, because I would love to have owned it. It's a fantastic piece.
Well, if they'd come to an agreement, it wouldn't be a bootleg anymore.
Well, and Gary, so this is like way outside of my collecting zone, but I was looking at the Dollar Slice Bootlegs Instagram, and if you look at a post from 2 days ago, it kind of sounds like he's saying, F it, DM me. Like, hint, hint, I'll sell these. I don't care anymore. So
I mean, that's the thing. There's 10 of them. Like, you're not. Like, yeah. By the time the cease and desist letter shows up to his house, there's no more left. Like,
exactly.
It's not like going to production. He's not making thousands of these. You're not going to a factory in China. The problem is the figure looks so good. It's sculpted so well. It looks like a real toy that's probably sold, that's made in plastic and sold a ton of. And that was the problem with it. It was too good. Like it's
too faithful.
It wasn't bootleg enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
So are you saying if it didn't look faithful and it was done worse, like most typical bootlegs I'm familiar with, you think then this would be not an issue?
Yeah, nobody even would have cared. They would have sold 10. Like, he would have put 10 up. 10 people would have bought them because people would have loved them anyway. But it just looks too much like a real product. And those guys, it looked like they're trying to develop some product of their own right now. So they don't want to have anything out there that's going to possibly look, A, better than what they're doing, or B, as good as what they're doing and competing with what they're doing. So it's just like, it's understandable. It's too faithful a thing. Like, most of these bootleg things aren't as great as what's going to come out. Some of them are, but the fact is there's 10. Like, you're going to be done with it by the time the letter shows up. That's really all it comes down to. Who cares? Send me the cease and desist. I'm already done.
Yeah, it's like when toy companies say their action figure is going to get recalled, and then there's a rush on them at the store, so they all sell out before they have to bring them back to the factory or whatever. It's that kind of, if anything, all the controversy kind of causes a rush and brings way more attention to the piece than it would have had before.
Yeah, exactly. He probably would have had to hustle to sell 10. Now he's probably already sold them. By the time this even is aired, he's probably already done selling 10.
Oh my God, he probably has enough demand where he could probably make 40 or 50 more, just because everyone now can see it, and all the Nazar fans that discovered him through Nazar apparently complaining about it on his feed are, I think that's why a lot of the bigger companies too sort of just ignore these things, because it's more cost efficient to just ignore it and it'll go away than if you actually give momentum to it and acknowledge that it exists.
Well, it's kind of funny. I actually discovered it. I was reminded of that brand through this bootleg. I was going through. I follow Dollar Slice Bootlegs, and I discovered it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is great. This is fantastic. And then I got into rating and heard something about Thrilla Crew, and then I ended up clicking that link, and then I realized that they have an actual page on Instagram, and they have actual T-shirts, and the actual T-shirts that I wore when I was a kid. I'm like, oh my! So they actually helped take someone like myself who was a huge fan, and that Town and Country played a role of my childhood, and it kind of helped reconnect me with them through that bootleg. So the strife that happened over these 10 that were produced it's a sad situation, because I don't think either side really came out looking great, but I think it benefited both in a weird sort of way.
I mean, I agree, because I definitely saw that. Like, I didn't know that that artist was someone who was still creating art, and I would have started following him had he not been a douche. But now that he's a douche, I look at his page and I'm like, I'm not following him now. I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah, I tried to separate the two. I still like the art. It's been nice going through that account and seeing all the old art and the T-shirts they're trying to resurrect and all that sort of stuff. And actually, I did a tribute piece to their video game that they did, the TNC Wood and Water Rage video game that they did, and I love that game. So when I got the opportunity to do the So Analog toy series with the Tendos that Squid Kids Inc. did, I did a tribute to the cover of that video game, and then I called it Wood and Vinyl Rage, using my wood and vinyl toys in place of their characters. But anyways, I understand where Steve Nazar, he's probably not a wealthy guy and someone stepping onto something he's trying to resurrect, but Yeah.
Oh, he's in the right 100%. I'm not saying he's not in the right, but just don't be a douche.
I hate that term douche. Can we use bozo instead? But I can't speak to it because I just haven't read everything. I'm just not that aware of what Steve said. Like you said, the stuff was taken down. So I think this is a good point where we should move on.
Yeah, no, it's a good moving on point.
Let's take a brief moment to mention some of our sponsors. So for all your Desire toy needs, wants, and desires, we have 3 amazing stores for you. First up is 3dretro.com. 3D Retro is a producer of amazing art toys, but along with that, they have a brick-and-mortar location in Southern California. They host lots of great events. The store is amazingly beautiful, so if you're in the area, be sure to visit 3dretro.com and say hello to their team there. Our next sponsor is StrangeCatToys.com. Strange Cat Toys is awesome. They've been supporting us since the beginning. Corey is an amazing guy. So if you go to StrangeCatToys.com and you're a listener to the show, load up that cart and use our promo code MARSHAM at checkout, and you will receive 10% off your entire order. And lastly for the stores is My Plastic Heart. My Plastic Heart is located in New York City. If you're in the area, you definitely want to check out their quaint little store. Vin is awesome. The store mascot is awesome. His name is Kiba the dog. But if you can't make it to New York City, fear not. You can visit myplasticheart.com, load up that cart, and as a listener of the show, if you live in the States and spend $75 or more, use our promo code TOYFAM at checkout, and you'll receive free shipping on that order. Otherwise, to stay on top of all the latest and greatest in toy news, be sure to like and follow SpankyStokes.com and thetoychronicle.com. And be sure to download the Toy Chronicle app at any one of your favorite app stores. Okay, so 5 Points Fest is coming up, less than 100 days now. Tickets are now available, early bird specials going on. You can get your early bird ticket prices on the weekend pass and VIP pass. And so how about it, guys? Are you guys actually going to go out this year?
I won't. I'm not going to be there.
See, I really wish one of you East Coasters would go to this event.
I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, I'm sorry, you West Coasters. In your beautiful weather with all your toy conventions, you don't have to leave the state.
So's George and Jess.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Californians, you guys are so spoiled there. You never leave your state for anything. There's an awesome event going on in New York City in like 90 plus days, and probably most of you aren't going to go. I wish you would go.
George, I thought you were debating it.
I don't have time for that.
I don't have time. It's 80 degrees here in California. We got a convention next week.
Are you kidding me? It's like 40 here. It sucks.
I know. It's freezing. It's
freezing.
freezing.
Snow, by the way?
It's California
cold
cold
in Phoenix.
right now.
I have a coworker who woke up to 6 inches of snow in his front yard.
Did it snow for you, George? I know it snowed in parts of California.
No, it snowed in Vegas, I think. It wasn't snowing here, but it's cold. It snowed here somewhere? Oh, Calabasas. That's not near me. Not close enough.
We got snow too. We got snow up here.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mm.
Crazy.
I love
crazy
how
man.
you all are getting snow, and it's weirdly warm here for winter.
Hey, global warming is not a thing.
It's like 40s, 50s with rain, which is weird for
well,
like we've switched.
What's weird for me is like 6 months ago, our state was basically on fire. And now it's freezing and snowing. It's what is happening?
Mother Earth is not getting treated well. We are ruining her.
But why are you taking it out on California?
Because you won't go to 5 Points Fest.
God.
It's all your all's fault. It's not my fault.
It's our amoral lifestyles.
I know all of our disgusting Hollywood parties.
For those not in California, if you would like to go to 5 Points Fest, you can now go to 5pointsfest.com. The tickets are now available for purchase. Early bird purchases for weekend tickets are $35. Early bird purchase for VIP passes is $125. They will be going up, I think, closer to the event. The weekend ticket will be $10 more expensive, and the VIP pass will be about $150. So it does pay to get these things early. With the VIP pass, I think we mentioned in the past, it comes with the entrance into the Designer Toy Awards. You'll get 1 hour early entrance both days to the event. You'll get free entrance into the after party if there is one, and you also get like the exclusive VIP grab bag, which comes with an exclusive toy specially made just for the event. So go buy your tickets now and hope to see everyone there.
How much passes to go to the show itself? did you say? Sorry.
For the weekend pass, it's $35.
That's not terrible.
That seems like a deal. I mean, when you see how expensive it is to go to Comic-Con for a couple of days now, every time I hear of some place where you can get in for a reasonable amount of money, it just automatically sounds like a bargain.
I know Comic-Con is $200+ to get in for people now, but it's a totally different show. This is a more focused on designer toy event. It's not what it's not as nearly as big as a designer con. It's much smaller, but I love Five Points Fest. I really hope people go out there and check it out.
I really would like to go. I know I'm pretending to poo-poo it now, but I do want to make it out at some point to this.
It does seem like a really cool show, and it's one I would like to get to eventually. But, I mean, I haven't even been to D-Con for a couple of years, and that's not even that far. I mean, I can almost drive to D-Con.
No, you can't. It's like an 8-hour drive for you.
Technically, George and I have just proven that we could drive to D-Con and back in one day.
Well, it's an hour further south now, so now you might have a little more problem.
It's just a little more hallucinating.
Exactly.
Not a dangerous amount, but an acceptable amount.
Did anybody pay? Toy Fair was last weekend. Anyone pay attention to what was going on there? Anyone see anything interesting?
I was my favorite stuff was Super 7s. I thought Super 7 just blew it away this year at Toy Fair.
Totally agree. And it seems like they were one of the only ones showing stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I saw, obviously, the big guys are showing things, but every time I saw something on my Instagram feed and stopped and said, "Wow, that's really cool," it was Super 7.
Yep.
They're just crushing it right now. I hate that term. I'm sorry. I didn't want to say crushing it. Yeah. I couldn't think of it. They're just killing it right now.
You know what term I hate? Influencer. Hate it.
Oh, that's such a... I love it, though, when because Gary and I both have a secret passion for The Bachelor and Bachelorette. And I love it when influencer is listed as the person's career.
Yeah.
That's the only time I like it.
I miss talking to you about Bachelor. Are you still watching?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this season, but I do still watch. And
you guys know we're recording this, right?
I don't care, George. This is a guilty pleasure. It's a great show.
I really wanted Jordan to be the Bachelor, and when they picked Colton, I lost interest.
He's pretty boring, but we'll save that. That's for our Bachelor podcast. We'll save that for another time. But
perfect.
I do watch the Bachelor in Paradise ones, just so you guys know.
Yes, that one's actually great.
That's the best of all of them.
It is. I really like Bachelor in Paradise. I didn't watch the first several seasons, and I gave one a shot, and I ended up loving it. And it's for the reason that it's the opposite of Bachelor in the fact that it feels more real. It's people thrown on a beach, and they seem really bored out of the gorge because they can never leave that little beach and that hotel the entire time. And I actually feel like they form real relationships, and actually some real love comes out of it, versus Bachelor. Their first dates are in other countries, being sang to by bands. It's just not real life.
Well, you don't date very well then. Jeez, Gary.
Is that how you won Jess over?
Yeah, of course. Damn. Parasailing, horseback riding on the beach. That was our first date, right? Just say,
Every date I've been on ends with me crying in a limo.
Sounds right.
I just love how the three of you have all watched Bachelor more than me.
Let's make Bachelor toys.
Yes, please.
Back to Toy Fair. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of like George, and I've been bad, but I did see news from Kid Robot as well. I mean, I think a lot of what they had was more licensed, which I think it doesn't shock me. But there was some non-licensed stuff too. They shared the Arcane Dunny series, and there was a Candy Bolt and Hello Kitty figure that I saw. I don't know if you all saw that.
No, I did not see that one.
It was just like a gray prototype, like it wasn't painted or anything. I'll have to see if I can dig up the link. Someone had posted it in some Facebook group. But that one looked kind of cool. And then the Arcane Dunny series looks cool as well. And then there was also kind of a weird merger of world. I don't know if you saw it, but there's apparently a blind box series that's game themed, but it looks like Sket 1 is involved. Did you see that?
I did see that one. I like that one a lot. It's called Let's Play. As you right, Scat One did, and it's kind of taking all the different platforms that Kid Robot does and reskinning them in different game concepts. Like, so the hippo platforms is the Hungry Hungry Hippo, a Money is the Monopoly guy, and it just, Twister and other games, Pie Face. Yeah, it looks fun.
It was just weird for me because when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, licensed stuff, because you're seeing SpongeBob and all that. Pinky and the Brain. I think there were, Fraggle Rock. Mm-hmm. So there were a couple different licenses. But when I saw that one, I was like, oh, more licensed stuff. And then someone else was talking to me about it and was like, did you see that Sket 1 signatures on it? I was like, wait, what? That's a Sket thing? And I went back and looked. I was like, sure enough, it is. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't even realize that was going to get connected to it.
I saw a comment that Sket 1 replied to, and he says, those designs are actually different than what they really actually are. So you're seeing the early prototypes, and there must have been some changes somewhere down the line. So we can expect them to look a little differently than what we saw the sneak peek of.
Interesting. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that was designer toy related and not licensed.
I would imagine at Toy Fair they would probably showcase more of the licensed stuff because it's for buyers of stores, and that's kind of the things that those buyers would be. I think most regular stores would be buying that stuff more than some random artist's random piece.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, Toy Fair is not as much the designer toy scene. I've manned a booth there twice and walked around quite a bit. And yeah, it's basically just what can we do to get the attention of Target or Walmart or in one of these big stores, or right. Sometimes some of the more designery style toys kind of have an ulterior motive where they're hoping like Hasbro will discover them and offer them a buyout deal or a licensing deal, or an MGA will walk by and their product will be the next LOL surprise or whatever. Yeah, it's interesting. So there is kind of like there is a section of Toy Fair that is kind of like I don't know what the actual term for it was, like the old designer toy section at Comic-Con, where it's smaller tables and it's more independence. Mm. So it's independence and first time, what am I trying to say here?
Like new companies trying to get on the scene.
Yeah, exactly. First time exhibitors to Toy Fair. And so that's always kind of fun because it's people who've made up their own board game and they're bringing the prototype, or it'll be someone who's invented this line of action figures that he or she hopes will take off. And so that's kind of like the spirit of designer toys, but it's not exactly designer toys.
Right. Well, speaking of new companies, we have a couple new companies last year.
Hey, real quick, Gary, because I found a link and I'm remembering other things I saw.
Okay.
So there were two other things that were teased that I'm actually really curious to see more for. I think they just showed boxes. Like, I don't think an actual toy was even shown. But there were two 8-inch Dunnies teased. One was a balloon Dunny by Andrew Martin. And it looks like a Mylar balloon. So like a reflective kind of balloon Dunny, like shell on the box. And that one intrigued me. It says it's available in June. So I'm curious to see more on that. But there's also, it looks like a 8-inch Dunny by 64 Colors in the works called Good for Nothing. Saying that's going to be available in the spring. And again, that was just a box shown. But I love 64 Colors, and we haven't seen any Dunnies from them in a long time.
Yeah, it's been several years, and they're one of my all-time favorite Dunny designers, so this is very exciting for me. I'm very curious to find out if it's sculpted elements, just painted, but whatever, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm curious too. And they finally are, I feel like the 8-inch Candy Bolton Kyubi Dunny, I hope I'm saying that right, the larger version of her Kitsune from the City Cryptid series. I feel like that was supposed to come out forever ago, but it looks like it's supposed to be coming out next month, finally.
Well, that'll make Nick happy. He was the one that DM'd you and I like several weeks ago asking if we knew anything about when that was going to drop. And so I thought it was kind of already had sold. I didn't know it was still waiting to be released, so this will make him very happy.
Well, that's weird. Did they already sell this one? This Quicks?
Which one?
Yukami and Hitsuju one?
Oh no, I think that one I read is going to release. I thought it said late this month, that maybe it's going to be next month, where it's the wolf and the sheep done very quick style, kind of has a street urban flair to it, kind of hip hop publishing looking, like, wearing a jacket, headphones, and all that sort of stuff. I think I read they're going to be $100 for the set. So yeah, it seems like Quicks is working with Kid Robot, going to be working with Kid Robot quite a bit. And he also just recently did that Hello Kitty collaboration where he did Hello Kitty as Tech 63. And I heard that one sold out really fast. Some people were saying bots were buying everything, but yeah, that one looked huge.
Yeah, the Hello Kitty one, it was massive.
Probably 10 or 12 inches. The box looked humongous. All right.
Anyway, continue on. New companies.
Well, Teresa, you're not that out of touch. You definitely seen some things. You saw more things than I probably did at the Toy Fair, that's for sure. But Tyler, going back to talking about like the new companies and stuff like that. So last year we had Super Plastic, and then this year, just in the past couple of weeks, there's a new company popping up called Unruly Industries, and this is a subsidiary or an off branch of Sideshow Collectibles, and they're now wanting to dabble into the designer toy world. And they're starting out. They've been teasing that they're doing 5 different series. There's going to be an artist series, a monster series, DC, Marvel. And there's a 5th one that I can't think of right now.
Kaiju. Kaiju.
Thank you, George. Kaiju. So they've been teasing all of those series and a lot of different artists working with them. And last Tuesday, if you're hearing this of the time of release, they put up 4 figures for pre-order. 3 of them being from the artist series, 1 from the Marvel. And so now we know that the figures are all going to be vinyl. They range anywhere from 6 to 7 inches. The edition sizes are much, much larger than I thought they were going to be. So edition sizes are anywhere between 500 to 750 pieces just for a single colorway. And then the price point is also very shocking given how large the edition sizes are. So the price points for these figures range between $100 to $150. So what do you guys think about this new company coming on? What do you think about the edition sizes?
The expense kind of shocks me.
Do you think that's because they're thinking that they're going to tap into that already established Sideshow collector fan base where they're used to buying the polystone figures and the resin figures at kind of a similar price point where they're just going to be supported by that fan base?
Well, that's actually kind of cheap for their fan base. Like their statues are $300 to $500, some of them. So it's that those are kind of inexpensive for their people. It's just maybe they don't realize that it's expensive for our people.
Yeah, I would
especially
say
with the
yeah. To me, it seems like they're probably not as in touch with the designer toy community as I thought. I thought they were maybe being mentored in some regard or knew the scene very well, because I've seen they're somehow connected with Monkey King in some regard. I've seen some posts about that. But yeah, they're coming in very fast. They're coming in kind of like a big company, lots of releases, high run sizes, high price points, and I think they just need to slow down and establish themselves a little bit and then get some sellouts and, just kind of familiarize themselves with the toy scene a little bit. They're kind of coming in a little hot and heavy like Dude Box did, and we all know what happened to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the opposite of the economics of scale here. A lot of the designer toys are so expensive because they're not making that many. And so you don't, I mean, obviously anyone who's ever talked to a factory knows it's a lot more expensive to make 20 of a toy than it is to make 2,000 when you're talking on a per unit basis. So to be making these multi-hundred piece runs, but then still charging like it's a niche run, you're right. It seems like there's a disconnect. And as George said, yeah, they're probably thinking, oh, this is a bargain based on the $500 statues that we did 1,000 of that sold out. Yeah, but that's also not the audience. The guy who spends $600 on a Thanos statue isn't the same guy who's going to spend $150 on a vinyl toy. I mean, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I know you posted it in the group, and it seemed like in general it's exciting. Like it's cool to see, and the designs look nice, and more like they seem to fit the scene, but they seem pricier than I expected. The run size is whatever, but it does seem higher than I would have thought as well.
George, have you seen these in hand? I heard a whisper that you did.
Yeah, so full disclosure, I've been to Sideshow to go on a tour and see a lot of this stuff. So I've seen a lot of this firsthand. There's some of it I signed a NDA, so I can't talk about some of it. but anything that's been shown, I can now at least give my opinions on. And then just yesterday, we had two of the guys from Unruly Industries over for Toy Geeks. So we had them on the show, and I actually, I'm not going to be on that episode, but I was there during the filming because we only had 4 mics. So since 2 of them came over, I gave my spot to Jack. But I was there for the episode, so I did hear them talk about all the stuff. And these guys are Sideshow guys, but this is the stuff that they're really into, and they're really passionate about it. So they know our scene. Like they go to Designer Con, they see all the stuff that's being made, and they're just all about making more cool stuff to add to this scene, you know. But it did seem a little odd to me when I started hearing, like, because when they were talking and somebody asked about run size, or somebody mentioned run size, and it was up in the 500 pieces, and it was for one colorway. I was shocked. I was like, those numbers haven't been used in a long time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to say anything on the show then, so we didn't get to talk about that, but that surprised me a little bit. But I think for some of the pieces, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Like the Tracy Tubera stuff that was shown, and let me click on this and make sure it's shown before I talk about it. So they showed the T'Challa, Black Panther, so the design based on Tracy's sneaker guys that he does.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks like they showed all three of it, is the Deadpool and the Miles Spider-Man one. I don't think you'll have a problem moving that. You know, like that's a licensed product. It's licensed by Marvel, and it's, you know, but it's Tracy's art. And I don't think that'll have a problem. Whereas the ones that are going to be problems, I think, is their artist series. If you're trying to push 500 pieces of a design from, let's say, Pseudo 5. Anybody ever heard of that person?
Yeah, I haven't.
No.
Or T-Way?
Nope.
Or
T-Way I have heard of. He's done a piece in the past with Mighty Jax, and I've been following his work for a while. Great stuff. But you're right. They're coming in as a new company with a lot of fresh faces our designer toy collecting community are not aware of. And that's going to be hard to get them to want to jump in at the $100 price point. To move these big numbers, you need someone like a Cause or a Quicks or someone that has the Hypebeast community behind them. The bots are buying their stuff on the web stores, so it's going to be hard for them to move these numbers on a lot of the guys that aren't really known in our community already.
And I don't even know if you can move 500 pieces of a Jesse Hernandez. Not that he's one of the biggest names in our scene. But I don't know, like, can you move 500 pieces of that in one color?
I don't know. Someone in our group posted that they collect the Michelins, and I guess this was a very similar toy is produced by Kusu Vinyl back like 8 years ago, and they did several colorways of the Michelin, and if you added up the sum of all of those colorways, it didn't even equal 500.
It's going to be a harsh wake-up call after their first edition. Like, maybe they'll start seeing from the pre-orders, like, what the actual response is, and maybe they can adjust those numbers as they move. But I'll tell you, I saw these pieces in person, and if they look anything like the prototypes, people will be super happy with the pieces when they come out. They look amazing. I think we're going to have them in 2 weeks on Toy Geeks. You watch that.
Nice. And actually, I like that they had the factory samples for the photos for the pre-orders instead of 3D renders. Just 3D renders can be deceiving sometimes. And I think of all of the Artist Series ones, I think the one standout that I think our community is really going to be responsive to is the
Tony Riff?
Yeah, the Tony Riff Icy Colors. That's nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, would you all be surprised if I said I kind of like that one? I mean, it's not me, but that's my favorite for sure of the 4.
Yeah, and it's surprising, isn't it, that you and I both like that, because it's probably not normally our thing. And I guess to describe it to the listeners, it's like a vintage black and white cartoon character on an acid trip, just leaking color out of his eyes, and it's really, really nice. I think that one's going to really do well with our community, but the other ones, I think they look great, but I'm not familiar with all the artists.
I mean, there's an artist named Poop Bird, and I'll tell you, like, once you may not know who Poop Bird is right now, but if you look up Poop Bird on Instagram, awesome.
I'm going to search Poop Bird right now on Google, and I bet I'm going to regret it.
I don't know if I would do it on Google, but if you just...
I wouldn't do it on Google. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a bad idea.
It looks like he did the whole Kaiju series. It's artist Mike Poopberg Groves. And I'll tell you, his art, I think he's a tattoo guy on Instagram, and his art's awesome. So I don't know, maybe I don't know if he has enough followers to be able to build up that many pieces, but I mean, good on them for getting this. And I was asking them how they kind of chose, because I was able to, that was one I threw in a question while they were filming from the live studio audience. And I asked, like, how did you guys choose the artists? Like, because some of these artists I'd never even heard of. And they said that they all just kind of got together and pitched who they would want to see, like, based on what they all like. If they each kind of said this name and like 3 of them said the same name, they were like, well, let's go after that guy and see. So I think it's cool that they're introducing new artists that nobody's ever heard of. I think that's we need companies to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I mean, they're not starting from zero here, you know. Sideshow already has distribution. They already have the people already know their quality. They already have a giant fan base. So maybe, there's probably a percentage of the people that will buy it just because they're Sideshow fans. And I hope that they continue with the line even if it doesn't sell to their expectations, because it'd be a shame if they sold 300 out of 500, which for designer toys, a giant success. Yeah, but for Sideshow was kind of like a meh return, and I hope they can look past things like that. And I hope they just keep pushing forward with it. Because, yeah, I mean, George is right. We need more companies that are just finding people that aren't as prolific as the Taras and Jessies and all those people whose names that you're so used to hearing, and kind of pushing them into the limelight.
Yeah, I mean, like you said at the beginning, there was like you were gone for a year and you came back and it's the same. You scrolling through the same list of names. So I think it's great that there's people willing to put money behind people who might not have that huge name yet, but they make cool stuff, So I think it's really cool, and I think it's a nice mix of original things plus bringing in their licenses is kind of cool. Like I hope that they can bring it, like, because they have the Star Wars license too at Sideshow. So I think it'd be cool to be able to start bringing in some of this stuff into Star Wars, and like eventually down the line, like any of their licenses, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know we're beating on their edition sizes a little bit, but just on the flip side, I mean, majority of the scene is pretty small run, but I mean, Kid Robot does pretty large runs too. A lot of their Dunnies are editions of 1,000.
Yeah, that is true.
That's true, but Dunny has been around for 15 plus years. It has an established fan base already collecting it. They primarily use artists that are established in our scene, artists that collectors have already collecting and want more of their stuff. Unruly's coming at it a little more risky, I think, because what I like is they're not just coming in with just one series. They're not taking a one series sampling. They got, from what we've seen, 5 in the works, and I'm sure that there's more that we don't know about. I expect to be hearing from Unruly all year long.
I mean, I'm spoiling the whole Toy Geeks episode right here, but they were saying stuff like, I think they're already on the 3rd series. I think there's 15 characters in the 1st series that they're just releasing, and they're already planning for the 3rd series right now. So.
Wow.
There's plenty in the works, and I know that everybody at the company is passionate about this. Like the owners are totally into this. Like they love this stuff. They they understand, because the Sideshow started from guys that were making model kits. Their first licenses were Monsters and the Universal Monsters and stuff like that. Like they love all this. They love model kits. They love these kind of stuff. They love art, and they love that they have all these talented artists working at their company, and they realize it doesn't all have to be superheroes and Star Wars. Mm-hmm. They want to see this stuff because they know that they have these talented artists working with them, and they know that there's all this art out there. Then you could tell, like touring there, that they're very passionate about all this stuff.
Good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think even you guys are talking about them using new artists. I think Super Plastic's doing the same. Before Super Plastic came along, there were several people in the series that had never gotten the chance to do designer toys. Jake Parker, El Gran Chamaco, and I think I can't think of everyone in the series, but I think there was a few people that they were kind of introducing to the scene.
Speaking of Super Plastic, along with bringing people in, I mean, some of their edition sizes have been larger too.
That's
so
true.
Maybe, I mean, I think we're used to small, but hey, maybe they can come in and do it. Super Plastic did it. They kind of just came out of nowhere and have been selling out of a lot of stuff. So,
yeah, no, you're not wrong. I think with Unruly's edition size, it's high for a new company starting out. But more shocking to me is just the ratio of edition to the price. I think at that large edition size, I would expect the retail price, to probably be half of what it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sticker shock was a little bit more in regards to the high production sizes, more than the potential ability to sell them.
Right, exactly. They probably would have sold a lot
agree
more
with
if they were a lesser price, because I know some people were hesitant, but I'm very excited about them coming onto the scene. Super Plastic, DC Direct. I'm loving that new companies are coming in with artist-driven designs. I think it's very exciting. This is very cool.
It almost feels like this might be a new golden age. Not to be like too speculative, but it seems like there's potential for this to kind of take it back to how it was. At least I know when I started collecting years ago, it was just the hottest thing out there. There was tons of stores. In fact, in the last episode, you're kind of reminiscing a bit about all the stores that were in the Bay Area here. And now we are down to really Woo Bear. There's not even a Kid Robot. I mean, there's no Kid Robot anywhere anymore. But we used to have so many more. And it'd be nice to have sort of a, if this is what it takes to get interest back to some of those bigger levels, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, same am I. I mean, I'm sensing it's definitely growing. The designer toy scene is getting better. It's not 2009 anymore. I think we're pretty strong at this point. So I hope you're right. But let's move on. Let's talk about some other things that happened in New York last weekend. We've already touched on New York Toy Fair, but also going on was Clutter was having a release party for their Kaiju Dunny series, and in that series are 5 artists, and this is kind of like the American artists doing their version of Kaiju. And so in that series was James Groman, Candy Bolton, Jeff Lamb, Rampage, and Buana Spoons. Have you guys seen this series, and what did you think of it?
I will say the thing that I thought was a kind of cool approach is that usually when you do mixed artist series, there may or may not be a theme, but people kind of tend to just do their own thing, right? Either within the theme or without. And it seems like they collaborated on a color palette this time. So when I look at all the different designs kind of all together, I see that cohesiveness. And I thought that was an interesting approach. I don't know if Clutter drove that direction or if they all worked together on that or what, but I thought it was pretty cool how it coordinated in that way. So you had all these different styles, but a similar palette across all of them.
I noticed that too, and I think that worked out really, really nice. It's just a fun, laid-back, kind of goofy series. I really liked it. I didn't really originally like it that much in the flat 2D art that we saw leaked several months ago, but again, that's the different translation from the 2D and what it turns out to being 3D. You really can't judge a book by, well, this isn't a cover situation, but you can't be too judgmental of that early development stage. You really need to see the final figures in hand. And I think for the most part, these turned out really, really nice looking. I like them.
Yeah, there's kind of a fun whimsy to them.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's not taking itself as seriously as some of the other Dunny series that have been released lately. Right. It's just more of a fun. Let's just have fun with Dunnies again.
Yeah.
The little James Groman with the long neck and the teeny Dunny head cracks me up.
I got that one.
You did?
That's
what
the
do you
one
think
I got.
of it in hand? How is it in hand?
You know, funny. I haven't actually seen it in hand, so I
What?
saw.
Wait, how'd you get it?
Okay, so My Plastic Heart did a blind box opening on their feed, right? And they happen to pull that one, and so in the comments I said I want that one, and so he shipped it to me. It arrived today, but I haven't had a chance to open it.
Oh, Gary, go open it. I want to know what you think of it. Because when I was first seeing pictures of it, I was like, that is goofy. Like, it was
the
just,
little head and long neck.
I was just like, I don't know. But then, so Clutter had that event where they were doing a release party and some of the artists came and signed and I hung out. And so there were some Instagram stories they posted and I happened to catch one and I saw it in someone's hand and I was like, I don't know why. Because I don't know why. I mean, I should know it's a 3-inch Dunny, but in my head, I was picturing it huge. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, its neck and head are so small. And I liked it more at that size. So I was curious what you think of it in hand versus in pictures.
You want me to open it now?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, I have to go in the house, so give me a minute.
Oh, geez, here we go.
You guys talk amongst yourselves. Okay, so I got the Dunny. I'm going to open it up. And I think I just realized something. It's so tiny.
Are you having the realization I had when I saw it?
Wait, so the Dunny's not the same size as a regular... The Dunny body's not the Dunny body size?
Yeah, no, it looks the same. But here's just the weird part, is the neck... Okay, first off, I love it. Like, in hand, It's fantastic. I really, really liked it. Originally, like one of the things that kind of threw me off is in the photos. This just happens. What happens with toys, George, is the rhotic acid versus the injection molding. Sometimes the colors don't match up, and that's sort of the case with this figure. The orange on the arms is a lot more vibrant than the orange on the body, and then the orange on the neck doesn't match up very well to the orange on the body. But as a figure, this thing is fantastic. But no, it's the same body, same arms, but the neck is probably about the same size as the head without the ears. And so it's maybe only a 1/4 inch or not even half an inch taller than a regular Dunny.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's really strange.
That is weird.
Cool. And this weird thing, when I saw the 2D art, I don't think I ever would have guessed this was James Groman.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
even
it's funny you say that, because when I saw those reveals, I was like, oh, who is that? And then I realized it was James, or Jim. We can call him Jim now, right?
We can call him Jim now, yeah.
But yeah, I was like, wait, that's him? And then, like, once you realize it, because I think we're so used to him being known for sculpting, because that's what he does, is his detailed sculpts. But he's basically taken his detailed sculpts and done them as pad printing instead. And once you get it, you get it.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at this piece, and it's fun. It's cool. Great job, Jim. If you're listening to this, fantastic work. I love this. Translated really well.
I have to say, so I know Kyle was giving me a hard time because I was like, like, you all know I like cute. I can't hide it. So, like, this series, when I was first seeing it, I was like, it's just not going to be in my wheelhouse. He's like, no, you're going to like some. You're going to like some. I won't lie. There are a few that have grown on me.
Yeah, I mean, the colors, I think, help make it more appealing to yourself.
Well, and they're more fun.
Yeah.
They're not dark or deep or creepy. It's just, like you said, more fun.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a hidden meaning behind them, or there's not they're not trying to tell a story that isn't there. It's just,
right.
Let's make monsters and put them in boxes.
I agree. I think, yes, there was a theme, but it was a loose enough theme that they had the flexibility to play and let their style.
Yeah, it really comes through.
I do have to say, like, I think this is fun, and I like the idea of winning, because all the artists you said, right, are based in the U.S.
Do you think that bothers people, that only Western designers did?
No.
Kaiju?
I don't think it bothers people, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's fun and good to see U.S.-based artists put their spin on Kaiju. But I would love to see the reverse as well. I would love to see, because since Dunnies are a U.S.-based thing, I think it would be interesting to see all overseas artists apply their idea of Kaiju on the Dunny and have like a international version as a follow-up. I just think that'd be cool to see.
I agree. That's something I would love to see too.
Or have Japanese artists give their interpretation of classically American monsters.
Oh, yeah, or that. Like a total 180 on it.
Now, how many classic monsters do we have, though?
If you include...
the Universal monsters, I guess?
Yeah, the Universal monsters and some of the, like, Bigfoot. You could probably come up with a list.
Yeah, no, that could be really fun.
I'm going to put that in the suggestion box.
And more cute Kaiju. Even cuter. Like, cute of cute. Think like Chima Group, or... even like Teresa Chiba or Shoko and her Byrons, like cute. I would like to see that.
I don't think they've ever done a completely cute series. They've done a completely dark and heavy Art of War and those kind of series, but they've never done an entirely cute-based series. Not that I can think of.
Oh, like a cute explosion. I mean, that'd be fun. I know way back when we had that game we played where we put together our ideal Dunny series.
Did we do that online, though? I don't remember doing that online.
No, we did that on podcast with Chris.
Huh.
Do you not remember that game?
I don't remember. No recollection.
We went around and built our favorite Dunny teams. That was
Oh my gosh. I think it just hit me. Yeah.
Remember he built like the dream team? He was throwing out names like Cause.
Picasso. He just kept it real grounded.
I think it's exciting. I like that I'm seeing a lot more coming out of Clutter. I know Eric's working with him for his upcoming shoot, what's the name of it?
Symbiosis.
Yep, his symbiosis he's dealing with clutter. Now we're seeing this. I know that they've been doing stuff with Kyle and Collaboration Kid Robot. And I know in the past they've been doing all their Octodunnies. But I think it's exciting. It seems like they're producing quite a lot these days. And I know they're also doing lots of big stuff. Like
do you think they're going to be the ones producing the DTA figure then for the VIP pass? Or do you think that's going to go to another large company like an Instinct or someone like that?
It's a very interesting thought. I don't know. It's hard to say, honestly, but I think it's a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me, but I think I'm going to say no. I think they're still going to go with a larger company making that for the bag, but it'd be cool if they did. But anyways, I think we're running. Let's go ahead and end it, Tyler. I think thank you so much again for coming on. It's been great catching up with you, buddy.
Yeah, it's been nice catching up with all of you, too. Feels like home again. I'll have to do this unless this gets absolutely terrible listener reviews. I'd love to do this again.
We probably should have ended it on our last episode, Tyler, because we got so much great feedback on the episode with Drill One and Lisa for several people mentioned it was the best episode we've ever done. So really, we should have just ended it on that one and just rode off into the sunset. But since you come back on, I think you were great, Tyler, but we should also probably at some point invite back Aaron back on and Carlos.
All right, let's not get crazy here. We don't need everybody.
Well, if we're going to bring anyone back on, I know he's not an actual host, Gary, but I think we did Corey wrong. We got to give Corey of Strange Cat a little better of an episode so he can talk more.
What do you mean? I don't even remember that episode.
Talk 5 points, and he didn't. Poor Corey was our guest. And we didn't really talk. He didn't get to talk much at all. So we got to get him back on and actually tell the story of Strange Cat and how it came to be. He is a sponsor after all. Give him a little love.
All right. You're right. I forgot.
I can read a quick news story if you want that I just found and thought was funny.
Okay.
It's from the Toy Book. I don't know if you know that magazine or not, but it's about mainstream toy stuff. But I guess there was just a Toys R Us, the Jeffrey Mobile, that was designed by George Barris. It just went up for auction recently, and they were expecting it to bring in anywhere between $50,000 and $200,000 for the car.
Okay.
It brought in $22,500.
Oh yeah. People are mad at Toys R Us.
Yeah,
I think people were mad when they went out, and people are mad that they're trying to come back.
I'm mad. I'm kind of mad about that too. You went through all this stuff of going away, and now you're like, oh, we're coming back. Come on. Well,
also because they didn't pay a lot of vendors, I guess, and then they went bankrupt. But now they're coming back, and all these vendors are kind of going like, well, yeah, you're back, so you're gonna pay us, right? Different company. It just the whole thing was. I think it left a lot of. After the nostalgia wore off, I think it left bad taste in a lot of people's mouths.
I didn't even think about that with Toys R Us, Tyler, with them. So many companies did not get paid. They had tons of inventory being made that was not paid for. So, yeah, to come back now and support the new company, that's of course they're going to want to get paid first on what they got screwed over on, and then maybe they'll participate in this new version.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, and especially with Target and Walmart increasing their toy aisles, and there's other places for vendors to go. I don't know. If I had a crystal ball on that,
I think it's too soon.
Be a rich guy, but yeah, it's way too soon.
Give it 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah, and then it's actually a nostalgia play instead of kind of feeling like a greed play.
It feels like it feels like a shitty move of. Hey, we suck, we're failing, we gotta go, sorry, we can't pay you, blah, 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 we're out. And now they're like, psych, we just want to get out of paying all that money to you.
Yeah, no more debt, and we're going to start over.
Well, that was a nice little tidbit, George.
Sweet, I contributed.
You contributed, you did good. Well, Tyler, thanks for coming on.
He's meeting his resolution.
He is. So thanks, Tyler, for coming on. It's time to wrap it up. We're running long as we usually do. So why don't everyone take a brief moment and let everyone know where they can find you. Tyler, go first.
You can just find me online at hamfx, hamfx.com, and that's also my Instagram account at hamfx.
Ladies next, Teresa.
Feels really weird to do an outro when I didn't do an intro. But yeah, if you all want to check me out, find me on Instagram. My username is tmhawk24.
George.
I'm at Double G Toys on Instagram.
And what about Toy Geek, since we talked about them so much?
Yeah, Toy Geeks on YouTube, I guess, or just go to toygeeks.com and you can find all the stuff.
Don't go to toygeeks.com. That's not updated.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah, just go straight to YouTube and search Toy Geeks.
Well, guess who's supposed to do that, Ben?
Ooh.
Yeah, every time I go to toygeeks.com, think I'm going to see the new episode, it's still like the same one, the Patrick Lamb one from like almost a year ago.
To be fair, 15 other jobs, so I don't blame him.
No, not at all. But I have to say, George, I've been really enjoying the latest season. Much more than when you guys heard that first season. Meh.
Wow, okay. Guess we're coming into our own, I guess.
Well, no, the first season was just so sticky. I just felt like things were like, it's just so sticky. You got rid of that. You brought in all these new people who are respected people within the toy scene. And so I like hearing their opinions. And I love the editing, the new editing that's going on. It's a lot more playful.
Yeah, I love it. And that's all Victoria.
Victoria.
She does that. She does an amazing job.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. Right? That really cracks me up every week. So, okay, and all right, I'll go next. I'm Gary Ham. You can find me at superham.com or Gary Ham on Instagram. And this is in the Marsham Toy Hour. We do this every week, not because we have to.
Every other week because we want to.
So until whenever we decide to talk again, this has been the Marsham Toy Hour. We're signing off. Bye.
Bye.
All right, Tyler, you're texting me. You're getting yelled at. I'm getting yelled at when I went to go get the package. So,
what the heck is sticky?
All right, I gotta go, you guys. It's been fun.
See you, Tyler.
Bye.
No,
Bye.
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 Sticky.
Bye.
What does that even mean?